Good evening and welcome to this week's Loose Links. On your panel is Mandy Stannard, Claire Browning May, Rachel Penny, and Nicholas James. Hello, welcome to this week's Loose Links and your new panel. We've got a lot of loose fun to catch up on this show. It's a jam-packed show, so sit back, enjoy the rest of the show. Hello, good evening and welcome to this week's Loose Links as we talk about that jungle fun. But the topic on everybody's lips at the moment seems to be Mac Hancock's girlfriend and arriving in Australia. But we talk about exes and can we really ever get over them? Also, we talk about Boy George and Chris as they have developed a really close friendship. But that got us talking about friendship and just friendship change over the years as we get older. I'm pointing that one right at you, Mandy. And also we finish on the subject of, let me just catch up. We finish on the subject this evening of university. We talk about university in different ways of accessing it this week. There's a bit of a story in the news, so stick with us and find out a lot more. All that on tonight's show. Good evening, panel. Hi, Rachel Penny, I've got a bit of news for you. Last week, I give you the award of Best Dressed Person. You absolutely went to town, and I'm going to embarrass a panellist this evening because I think this panellist looks stunning. And that's you, Mandy Stannard. Look at you in your new haircut. Don't you look good? Look really good. You even look younger.
I'm not allowed to swear on screen, am I?
No, you're not. But before we get started, let's just have a look at last week's polls, as it's your show as well as ours. So last week's polls were, do you believe we should treat everyone the same in this crisis? 100% of you said no. And the second poll is, do you stand by what Joe Lycett is saying about the World Cup? So that goes back to last week, and LGBTQ on the World Cup and people accepting and David Beckham. And 100% of you stand by what Joe has said. So that's very interesting. There was nobody that said no. I don't believe in what they're saying. But ladies, let's get on to this week and let's do what we do best. For eagle-eyed viewers, yes, I am wearing my coat. And I'm wrapped around a cup of coffee. I've got plenty of gas on the system, but just in my brain, I will not turn the heating on until the 1st of December. So yesterday, I sat round at Rachel's house in the afternoon and just got warm. I could show a really embarrassing video, Rachel, couldn't I? But I won't.
Rude.
I won't. Maybe it's cold outside. Have a look at our TikTok, that's all I'll say. But this week, ladies, we're going to talk about a video that has gone viral on TikTok this week. And actually, I think she's got a point. See what you guys think. So this is the video that's gone viral. See if you agree with what she says.
Dear Rishi Sunak, how does it feel to be a multi-millionaire whilst food banks like mine are already overwhelmed and are turning people away at the doors due to a limited amount of food? How does it feel to be Prime Minister at a time when nurses are threatening to strike for the first time in their professional careers? How do you sleep at night knowing that child poverty, food poverty and homelessness are all social needs that have increased since the Tories have come into power? How does it feel to know that children have collapsed while waiting in queues at food banks? Do you not see the hypocrisy of a multi-millionaire employing a man who has already destroyed our NHS and have him announce that working class people who are already hungry, tired and freezing cold, that we should be ready for a further few more months of these hardships? Dear Rishi, how much longer do you think you and your party can continue to destroy the lives of working class people? The revolution is coming and people power is building. You can't take food from children and warmth from our sick and disabled and expect public opinion to still be able to be manipulated through the media. Enough is enough.
So, ladies, do we agree?
Yeah. He's got. How can he have any idea? How can any of them? They're all from very privileged backgrounds. So.
Well, they had a certain amount of idea when it was locked down, didn't they? Because why were they able to send around packages and boxes of vegetables and, you know, the staple things that you find in your cupboards to keep yourself going when anybody was vulnerable and clinically vulnerable in their own homes and couldn't get out in lockdown? Didn't mean to say they couldn't afford food, so they could have got somebody to go and shopping for them, or they could have got a delivery, but nobody had to do a means test or go through the awful stigma of saying they are without food and they are poor. They have to really plead for this and go on and they have to get a token or something for a food bank. They have to be it has to be agreed to that they get these things, but they didn't. I'm not sounding very eloquent today because I've just been dumped in on this afternoon, so I don't really know what exactly the topics we're talking about exactly, but from experience I got a Boris box, which we called a Boris box. It had vegetables, it had potatoes, it had rice, it had pasta sauces, it had tinned foods, and it had fruit. And I never asked for it. I got it because I said I was clinically vulnerable. But I never asked for it. And so eventually, because it kept coming to me every Wednesday or every Thursday or whatever what it was, I told them I didn't want it anymore because I didn't need it. But why do people have to suffer like this? There's children. There's children that are starving. And it shouldn't happen this day and age. We're civilized human beings. It's gone wrong somewhere along the line. When we got it in lockdown, we didn't ask for it, and now it's clearly needed, and they have to plead for it or not get it at all.
Claire, what do you think?
Well, I just think it's just going to get worse before it gets better, because a lot of people, like Rachel said, don't want to ask for handouts, you know. So by the time that they probably think, well, I've got to do something, you know, is it too late? I don't really think the government actually know how many people out there are suffering. And like you've just said, you're not putting your heating on till the 1st of December. Some people won't even be able to afford that. And I think it's like, in this day and age, I think it's really frightening that, you know, we haven't had a bad winter. I mean, I've been shopping tonight and I just couldn't believe the prices of things. They're literally gone up like 25%. I'm just talking as well there, fruit and veg, you know, not an expensive outlet. So, you know, it's like, how can people afford? I know, like, sort of my age and older, we probably can do stews and, you know, that type of thing. But a lot of people don't know even how to cook. And I'm not being awful to them, but, you know, how to save money by, like, probably batch cooking and things like that. So
and when you do homemade as well, Claire, it's not cheap, is it? When you do a homemade meal, it's not cheap anymore. But what really stood out to me and what really scared me is when she talked about people power. People power is coming forward. People are not standing up for it anymore. Does that worry you that actually people are more turning against the government and are trying to do things off their own back now because they don't feel supported by the government. Do you think people will take charge very soon if things don't change?
Yeah, probably so. Like you say, people that they want to be in control if the government aren't. But how far will that go? You know, how far and what will it turn into? You know, we're suffering enough as it is without having to not go to war, but war with the government. You know, are people going to be breaking into shops and, you know, having a real, you know, like a showdown type of thing? It is quite frightening when you think
It's scary, isn't it?
things
It's
like that.
massively scary. And
Well, it's a time that the government should start to listen to the people. They've had it their own way too long, and I think it's come to this because of lockdown. I think it's come to this because of COVID, and there's been too many things going wrong with this country, Brexit, and too many major differences and changes to this country, and we can't just be rode roughshod anymore. People are dying, you know, in hospitals. You know, everything's going backwards. We're a civilized nation, and we're just going backwards all the time. And it's not for the good. And so if they can't see it and start making a few U-turns and making a few improvements, then it will revolt. The country will revolt.
it's like that saying, isn't it? I was talking to a friend the other day, and the people's nation have suffered the last couple of years, really. If you think about it, we were sent into lockdowns. That meant people were furloughed, people couldn't do overtime, so there wasn't as earning as much as they originally were. And then we had COVID, where people had to isolate, and you were furloughed over that, and you were sent home and you had to isolate, and vulnerable had to isolate. And now we've got the crisis. And all I think in my head is, when are we going to get a break? When are we just going to get just 2 minutes? It's like Christmas. You know, I'm the Christmas Scrooge when it comes to Christmas, and I don't like seeing things before the week before Christmas. But actually, when are we going to get a Christmas that we enjoy, that we don't have to worry, that we don't have to think? No, I don't agree with you at all, Claire. Where we don't have to think and stuff like that. Can you see realistically, for human beings talking about it, can you see a way out of this crisis? Because at the moment, I can't. I don't know what we can do now to get out of this crisis. How, like Claire's just said, going around the supermarkets, everything's gone up, but living wages hasn't gone up. Living wage, like what we're getting from companies and from our jobs and stuff like that, money hasn't rose in that sort of way. So it's all right putting. I think we're all going to be queued at the food bank by the end of next year. Even the highly paid people.
What's happened to you know, to all of us? But we've lost so much. We've lost so much, and we can't lose everything. We've lost our monarch as well. She kept us on the straight and narrow as such. We trusted her, and trusted her to keep our government in check as well. And now we've got not that steady in hand and that bit of overall security as it was, because she's been with us for a lifetime. I just think it's kind of like we're just freewheeling.
So let's go on a bit of a lighter topic of the topic then. So what also has gone viral this week on TikTok, sorry, we are talking about TikTok quite a bit this week. What also has gone viral is two best friends have decided to beat the crisis together. Unfortunately, I couldn't find this video, but two best friends have decided with their children to move into one house. Instead of having two lots of bills, two children to feed on their own, they've decided to move in together. So Mandy Stannard, if I was to knock on your door tomorrow with a suitcase and said I was moving in, could you live with your best friend? Could you do it?
I have lived with my best friend.
You have? How did it go? Tell us about the experience. Are you still best friends?
Yeah, it was only for a few weeks, but twice. Once when I was having work done on my house, and once when she went on honeymoon for 6 weeks.
She went on
And I-
honeymoon for 6 weeks.
Yeah,
Do you go
On
with
her
that?
own?
weeks I think it was.
On her own?
On a honeymoon with her husband.
Oh, right, okay. What
And
about you,
I-
Claire? Do you think that's a good idea if like, because you work in education, not giving away the school, but you work in education. Do you think the school should promote that about parents moving in with parents? Do you think it's a good idea?
Well, you talk, you know, like when you're talking, like at school, they're probably just sort of friends through children, not like good friends. But
Yeah.
I just think, you know, I'm not saying if you've got like a husband, a wife, and kids, husband, wife, and kids. It just depends on how good of friends you are and how big the house is. You know, for a year or 2 years, I think it's a fabulous idea. You know, one mortgage, like half and half, all the bills, half, you know, you could do your own shopping maybe, or, you know, you could do a nice meal. I do. I think if you are really good friends, then why not? Really, why not? Because you would move in with Rachel, wouldn't you? Rachel
Oh,
would have you.
no.
Rachel wouldn't have you like, but
I've moved. Anyway, change the subject about which friend? Oh God, especially if it wouldn't pay for any gas or electricity. I know that. I stayed with my friend came to stay with me in lockdown for 5 months. She was having chemo at the time, and her husband was a paramedic, and so he couldn't risk bringing anything home with him. So she stayed with me. But oh, excuse me. Oh,
particularly, what the hell's that? I can hear it. It's in my phone. Sorry, we apologise about that.
I do apologise. I can't get rid of it.
Keep talking, because we can hear you. Keep talking.
Still hear me? Wait, putting me off. I'm too popular, you see. She 5 months, and it was quite nice. We were good friends, very good friends. We got even better friends, but we were able to be separate people, even though it's in my house. But my mum was here then as well, so she was also company for me, whilst I was looking after my mum. So it would have probably been a very dark place if she wasn't here. But yeah, I think it's probably going to get a lot of people thinking the same way,
Yeah.
of or hiring out their rooms to make you know, a bit more money. I don't know, but yeah, if you ever came to live with me, Nick, it'd be way too expensive for you.
And I know Rachel's bad habits. I really wouldn't. But let's move forward and talk about the famous man that everybody absolutely adores in the UK at the moment, and that's Matt Hancock. Matt Hancock's girlfriend Gina hits the beach as she waits for her MP, not celebrity, as she waits for her MP to leave the I'm a Celebrity jungle. Gina, 45, oh, I didn't realise she was 45, was spotted on the golden sands of paradise along with new friends, lioness Jill Scott's partner. The pair were seen chatting for hours and even rubbing suntan lotion into each other. Oh, in a sign of their closeness. Gina has plenty to smile about as Hancock has exceeded expectations to remain in the jungle for the final week. Well, we all know the outcome now. We all know who won I'm a Celebrity. Well, to be honest, if I'm completely honest, I outright refused to watch it because he was in the jungle. But we won't talk about that. We'll move forward. I'm not bitter at all. But have you changed your mind about Matt Hancock seeing him in the jungle? Are you a bit more okay with Matt now? Is the past and we've moved forward, and actually Mr. Hancock's quite a nice man?
I can definitely say I don't know and I don't care because I haven't watched any of it, and I'm really not interested in what his girlfriend's doing on the bloody beach either. And he's supposed to be working, not blooming earning however much money he's earning, sitting in the jungle eating kangaroo. I've not watched it, and I'm not interested in him or her. So there you are. Carry on.
What about you, Claire? Have you been? I'm a Celebrity fan. Have you been glued to the TV at 9 o'clock on ITV?
Yeah.
Oh,
Although I must have,
have you? If you're really, really honest with yourself, have you got a bit of a different view on Matt Hancock from going into the jungle to Matt Hancock coming out of the jungle?
Going in, he was an MP. Coming out, he was an MP. But what you saw, or what he tried to portray, was himself, not as an MP. And I just think, really, he had a lot of balls to do that. He had a lot of stick while he was in there. He got blanked. He got, people weren't nice. But, a lot of people had a lot of things to say. But he was the puppet, not the puppet master. And he was doing what he was told to do, if it was right or if it was wrong. And he took all the flack for that. He did all the trials. They all got fed.
But Claire, let's put it into, sorry, I've been dying to jump in. Let's put it into realistic terms. So Matt Hancock, that line that's been on social media that I've not been able to avoid, even though I've avoided the programme, is I just fell in love. So if an ex-partner came to you and said, and gave you an explanation of why they weren't with you anymore, and they outright said to you, well, I'm sorry, it's not my fault, I just fell in love, what would be your reaction?
I'll just thump him.
But do you think he's rubbed it in the faces a little bit? Do you think it's been a bit like, that was just like a get out clause? Well, I just fell in love. Well, I'm sorry, mister. You told the nation to keep as far apart as possible. And your ex and your children might be watching this. Well, if he was my ex-partner, I would watch it. I just wouldn't. But imagine hearing that line. Imagine the years of marriage, and imagine hearing that line. Well, I'm sorry, I just fell in love. Is that acceptable?
No, everybody has a choice, and you choose to go down one path or another. If you're with somebody and you don't want to be with them anymore, then choose that path and leave them, then find somebody else. It's always a choice. It's like when people say, if someone fell in love with your partner, your best mate falls in love with your partner, or your husband goes off with his stepdaughter, your daughter, or whatever. And it's happened, hasn't it? You hear the news and they go, oh, it couldn't be helped, we couldn't help ourselves. I'm like, yes, you could. Everybody's got a choice. You choose to act on it or you choose not to act on it. That's it. That's the bottom line, isn't it?
I thought of something completely different. Completely different. I've got a different opinion of him to when he went in to when he came out. I was with everybody else thinking, the sanctimonious pillock. He went in there as an MP, and he's going to earn all that money doing this, and he's only come into the limelight and being notorious really for doing what he did. But quite honestly, thinking about it and then seeing the stick that he got while he was in there, and he was a gentleman while he was in there. He was kind, he was pleasant, he was a kind, nice human being in there, and you saw him for the person he was, not the MP. He didn't act like an MP, like he knew it all. But I did find that everybody in there that was saying one thing or another about him, I wonder what mistakes they've ever made in life that haven't come to light. Not everybody makes mistakes so publicly and does what he did. And yes, he's an MP and he's got that, he should be above it all. But at the end of the day, he's a human being. And the only thing I'd expect him to do now is to give what he's earned to charity. That would make it better.
He does.
Go on, Claire, go on. You jump in first because I strongly disagree. You jump in first.
What about Boy George? When the girl, I can't remember her name, the young girl, Charlene, was it? Or the other girl?
No, yeah.
Spoke to Boy George to ask him about his time, what happened, and he said he shut her off straight away, didn't he? And he says, yeah, he says it's inappropriate. I'm not talking about that. You know, so
and the thing that I've got, Rachel, is this he's an MP by the end of the day, and he's had to put this mask on for 3 weeks. But in my head, he's made a career of lying. He's made an absolute career of lying, of speaking his truth and saying what should go on and this, that, and the other. I don't think I saw clips of it on like social media where people were going, "Oh, is that the real Matt Hancock, or is this a bit of a face to show to the public? Look, I'm human. Look like me again." So I'm not completely convinced. Actually, it was the real Matt Hancock that we saw in the jungle.
You only saw clips, though, Nick. You didn't see all the programs.
Yeah, but it's been talked about in the office as well, though, Rachel. And when people say we
talk about it with other people's opinions, it's not your own opinion. You've only heard it from hearsay.
Yeah, so but I've seen clips from social media, and I just think that I've seen enough. We're talking about a man that told everybody in the UK to not go anywhere near each other, but he found it really easy to lie to the whole nation as he had an affair behind, and he would never have told us that. If he could have kept that secret, he would have kept that secret. The only reason he couldn't keep it bloody secret is because there was a camera and filmed him, so he had to be honest. How can you stand there and go, "This is what I stand for," and then do the complete opposite? And then we trust the man because he's a lovely man in the jungle again.
Well, who kept him in? General public. They kept him in the jungle till he's
first. Yeah, but he was sent on every trial, every single trial, and I think it was more torture than it was keeping him in.
Not every single trial. They wanted to, but he stepped up to the mark. I'm not condoning it at all, because I got the brunt of not. My mother didn't pass away because I couldn't see her. She was at home. But when my mother did pass away, we were still in lockdown rules, in as much as we couldn't have a funeral with people there that we wanted there. And a wake, only 6 people at the wake. So I didn't suffer to that extent. But I do know what he said and what he did. He wasn't just one person. He doesn't make these rules up by himself. He made these rules up. It was told about these rules. And as he said, there were guidelines, but I'm not saying that it was right what he did. But what I'm saying is he went into the jungle, and if he's going to keep that money that he made doing something whilst he's still an MP, that is not correct. That is not right.
So Rachel, on your public opinion, do you think he went into the jungle to clear his name? Or do you think he went into the jungle because of the money?
I think he went to try and make people see him on a different side. Okay. To see a different side to him. But also, why would he need the money that desperately when he's still serving MP? If he was a one that was being ditched, then maybe yes. But why would
what if ITV, on your opinion then, what if ITV said to him, right, Matt Hancock, we're prepared to put you in the jungle, but you will not get paid for it. You will not get a single penny for it. You will go into the jungle, and this is an opportunity to clear your name and to stand out there and to speak the Matt Hancock truth. Do you think he really would have gone in that jungle?
No idea.
No, I don't think
no one will know, will they? You're just surmising about it. But I personally think he would. I think he would, to clear his name, because he knew what he did was wrong. But he, like I say, he was the puppet, not the puppet master. on some occasions, you know, that bit with the woman, of course, that was his doing. But look what Boris did, you know, there was having parties behind closed doors. So it's all a shambles, but you know.
It is, but even his campmates who didn't particularly like him liked him at the end.
Yeah.
Because they saw him probably.
And they were with him 24 hours. We only saw an hour snippet, and they only showed us the snippets, which were the juicy bits.
As you can see, mixed views on the panel, but have your say. See what you think. Do you think Matt Hancock went in as a true Matt Hancock, or do you think once an MP, always an MP? Have your say. Make sure you have your say. There's many different ways you can get in touch. Facebook page, group, our new TikTok, which is Loose Lincolnshire. If you look up Loose Lincolnshire, there's a couple of videos of Rachel on there. I'll leave it there just for you to have a quick look. But also there's Twitter and there's Instagram. So have a look on our page, see what you think. But we talk about the Prime Minister again, ladies, because he's announced potential plans to clamp down on international students. Taking low quality degrees could send many of our universities over the edge, particularly in poorer regions. The chair of the government committee said, Prof. Brian Bell told BBC for today's programme, most universities for courses lose money on teaching British students and offset their loss by charging more for the international students. If you close down the international route, I'm not sure how the universities will continue to survive. So, ladies, what do you think of this? Do you think this is good for the UK, or do you think this is bonkers? Mandy, let's go to you first. You've been very silent this evening, so let's go to you first.
Well, the students are coming over. They're coming over legally with their papers. They're coming to get educated in a system supposedly that is a good educational system or university. Why would they come here if they didn't think they were going to get a good education? And then they're going back to their own countries, or maybe staying here and joining the workforce. So, surely it's I just don't understand how they can't open the doors or make legal immigration easier, and even in migrant workers, to make that easier to come through the normal routes than through the illegal routes, because that just creates crime by the sounds of it, not all of it, but some of it, because they come over here owing money, if they come over illegally, and then they've got to pay that money back by working for people. And it just causes more problems than if they just had an easier or better legal way of getting into the country. So stopping, education wise, it just seems daft. And universities won't stay open because, let's face it, the way it's going, people aren't going to afford to go to university anyway, living in this country. So
you see, again, a lot of our money, I'm not saying the immigrants, they come, the migrants, what you call them, they come in, and they're entitled then to everything that the UK give them. So they get free dental, they get doctors and everything, and there we've got thousands of them. And like I say, I'm not against them at all. I just think the system needs to be something done about it, because that's why people get upset with them coming over. It's not about them, we don't
in
want
news,
them.
Claire, in news this week, that's why the UK is surviving so much, because we're having those students come over and clamping down on them. What they're saying in news is clamping down on them and saying that you can't come over, universities might not survive on UK students. So actually, they're the people bringing in the money. They're the people why we've got our universities still open. So actually, I don't think it'd be a great idea clamping down on international students, because if we did and we survived on our UK students, as this article is saying, we might not have a university in 5 years' time.
Is their jobs, like they're all coming here. Well, they are, as they're going back, they're coming here, yes, they're paying. I don't know, like, it's just.
They're talking about low grade university students, aren't they? People like low grade qualifications. They're not talking about doctors and scientists. They're talking about the low grade ones, but it brings money into the community. Like look at Lincoln, how it's excelled now in what it's doing, and it's getting wealthier, and where we've knocked down shops around the St. Mark's area is now student accommodation. That says something, surely, and they pay to come here anyway. But if it, what are they meaning by what is the problem about somebody paying to come here and have not a very good qualification, rather than somebody who's going to be a doctor or a scientist? Are they worried about them staying here and not giving back to the country? Because they usually go back home, don't they, after they've got their qualification? And so why not spend the money while they're here and then go back home? At least you can control.
It blows my mind, HSN, on this, because the thing is, what I think is that we here, all four of us, are sat on very privileged seats, and we've had a privileged upbringing, and I'm not saying at all four of us here have had an amazing childhood. I'm not saying that at all. But actually, if you were in a different country and you wanted to better yourself, and you had the opportunity, or your child had the opportunity, to go on a plane and study somewhere else to better their life than you've ever had, to increase their job value, I don't get why we're so against it. To me, I don't care if I'm in England, if I'm in France, if I'm in Germany. I will welcome everybody, because to me it's about humankind. It's about being human. It's about loving one another like we're supposed to, support one another, stuff like that. So it blows my mind when it goes into articles of, we'll stop doing this and we'll stop. You are not God. When did this all change? You are not a higher being up there saying, well, I'll let you guys in. It's like borders closing and stuff like that. It just blows my mind.
Well, it's one of the things the government can get a handle on, isn't it? They can draw the figures from that, but with illegal immigration, they've got no idea. So It's one way of tackling the immigration problem. But it's not, because they're on about growing the economy. Well, people need to spend money for the economy to grow, but we're all spending less money because of what's happening. So if you stop students coming in, that's even less money being spent. So the economy is going to shrink even more. Well, I don't know. I'm not a politician, and I'm not a mathematician, and I'm not an economist, so I don't know. But that's, I just don't understand that side of it when they go on about growing the economy. But you need to spend money, and then there's on about companies spending money in this country, but I don't know.
But at least they're on a register, aren't they? If they come over here and go to university, they don't slide under the radar, do they?
Exactly, that's what I mean. So that it's measured, isn't it? It's measured, and they're legal, and.
But it did make me think, because Lincoln is, I can only base it on Lincoln because that's where I am. Lincoln is very, very built on the university. We are very, very there's more student accommodation everywhere, as Rachel just said, student accommodation is everywhere. But that did get me thinking, actually, do we look after, in the UK, do we look after youngsters better than our older generation that need that support maybe when they're at end of life, or they need a care home, or they need carers to come in and support them? Do we seem like we're supporting more youngsters and getting youngsters in? Then do you feel there's a balance between them both, or do you think it's very much one's higher than the other?
I think young children get looked after a lot better than their informative years and their school years. They get looked after a lot better than when they leave school. And from about 18 onwards, when they have to fend for themselves, that they can be lost. And then when you're old age pensioner, unless you've got a family around you or some support around you, I wouldn't like to be a pensioner.
No, they do. If you haven't, and again, it all boils down to money, doesn't it? Because you know, if you go into a care home, you have to pay for it, and if you've got no family and you've got no money, and it's like we've been saying about us ourselves, we're working longer and longer for us to get our pensions. So what, you know, you retire for what? Because by the time you've got your pension, you're about on death's door anyway. And then they're telling you, like, when you're just getting your young family, when you're young, oh, save for you when you're dead, so that, you know, the family don't have to worry about it. And it's like, what about here and now?
Yeah,
you know?
I agree.
There's no money for here and now. You know, if people can afford to go on holiday, you know, like next year, then good on you, because, you know, I'm worried about Christmas, let alone anything else, you know, and I'm working now. Well, after 5 years, but you know what I mean? And it's like, I don't like it. I really don't like it.
We don't treat our staff and colleagues properly. If we treated people who worked for us a lot better, we get more out of them, and they'd be appreciative. But we treat people so badly in the workforce these days. This is why nurses are going on strike. This is why we've got we haven't got enough doctors and nurses in our hospital in Lincoln. I can only go by that one. That's why waiting lists are high, and this is why people don't get nursed properly. I was in hospital, not myself. I was visiting a gentleman, a friend of mine, in there, and basic nursing has gone out the window, in as much as food, talking, nothing medical, just going to talk to somebody at the bed and making sure they had the food in front of them. He was laid down. He had everything covered in cellophane. He couldn't lift his arms up. He couldn't lift his head up. He couldn't even get to his food. Oh, you're wasting away. Well, blow me down, you know. But things, the new ways are not always the best ways. You're onto the old Victorian wards, where there were huge wards. You had about 10 people going down one side and 10 people coming up the other side, and it was all open. You could have one sister at the top with a couple of nurses that could see everybody. Now it's all little cubicles with four or six people in. You can't see anybody. You have to buzz. You don't know what Joe Bloggs is doing in the corner there. You could have one or two nurses, good nurses, keeping their eye on everybody. But now it's just gone total to pot. And actually, I'm saying about Lincoln Hospital now, I've had trips into there and stays in there, and I can't understand is you go in a couple of wards and they're treated like little communities. You go in one and it's completely different the way it's run by the next one that you go into. Why? It's one hospital, but you've got no matrons. Well, you have got a matron. I've seen one, but the new ways are not always the best way forward. It's not progress in my eyes.
I completely agree, Rachel, but I'm defending them a little bit. They're stuck between a rock and a hard place, aren't they? Recently, I'm not going to go into it, but recently I've had a hospital visit where I had to stay for 2 or 3 days, and actually sat in the I was privileged may be the word. I was sat in an A&E cubicle in a bed. I was thankful there was a bed. Because there was a 30-hour wait outside in the waiting room. So I was just thankful that I got a bed. But I heard A&E staff talking, and because people can't get a doctor's appointment nowadays, people can't get a doctor's appointment. Everybody's turning up to A&E for a headache, for an achy leg, they can't move their arm, and actually, you can't blame the staff for getting crisis. It's A&E for a reason. And I heard a member of staff say years ago, you could stand at A&E or the receptionist desk, and if you came in and they didn't see you as critical or see you as important, I'm really sorry, you need to go home and book a doctor's appointment. That can't happen anymore. They have to take on everybody that walks through that door, even if it's for something as stupid as a headache. I'm here because I've got a headache and I've had it for 5 hours and I can't get rid of it. So I can see where they're stuck between a rock and a hard place.
When I wasn't feeling so good, about 2 months ago, I broke down at work and they said, right, you need to go to the doctors. I went straight from work to the doctors, no appointments. If you go home, we'll give you a call back. Right, so I've gone in personally, got sent home. I had a call back, and because it was all about my breathing and that, then they made an appointment for the afternoon. So, 3 times just for one thing.
Absolutely
It's ridiculous.
shocking.
Yeah.
But should we go a bit light and fluffy now, ladies? Should we go a bit light and fluffy? Now we've put the world to rights, should we go a bit light and fluffy? Because in news this week, some 2,500 naked volunteers have posted in the early morning light on Sydney's beach for artwork designed to raise awareness for skin cancer. The American photographer gathered all the people together, fully nude, put them where he wanted for this photograph. Ladies, do you think we need to be more confident in our own bodies and embrace our nakedness? Let's go to you first, Mandy.
Yeah, in my bedroom on my own, certainly. I think there's a time and place. I don't want to see half-naked bodies walking down the high street, and I wouldn't go on a nudist beach. Each to their own.
What about you, Rachel? Do you think it's important to embrace nakedness?
Embrace my own, probably. I don't want anybody embracing mine or anything of mine. That's why Matt Hancock's gone to Australia. That's the real idea, isn't it? Yeah. No, I don't know. I think we've all got a body, and if it works, you should be pleased that it does. And but as you get older, the extra little bits and the extra little crease.
You don't want to be seeing some of the stuff out there, really. It's all better covered up. Believe me, it's all better covered up.
It leaves up to imagination. I look better. I look better hung upside down in a wind tunnel. I'd look all right then.
Upside down. But Mandy, if Lucifer walked in your bedroom and took all his clothes off, would you mind embracing nakedness then?
I would go all in evil if he came into my bedroom.
Well, yes.
How about you, Claire Browning May? If you were told to stand on a beach and take everything off, would you embrace it?
I don't even look at my own body. I don't know. Not like you say, it comes, well, for me, it's with age, as Rachel says, as you get older, you get a few more dangly bits. But I think as well that talking of dangly bits, like if you get a right gorgeous man, with not budgie smugglers though, but with some nice trunks on, he can look lovely. You take them off him and he's got his dangles dangling. I think, no, I don't think that's a very good look, personally.
I don't think there's anything pretty in nudity at all.
No, I don't. I don't.
When you're a little babe, you look all right. Everything's
Yeah,
normal.
that's a cute, but nah.
But no, when you start growing your bits and pieces and bits of fluff, that's not nice.
Yeah.
Have you never fantasised though? Like Mandy showed me a picture before the show of Lucifer. That's why I said
God,
him.
don't say that.
But do you ever look on the telly and you know that example as well where people go in and go, can you, when you're just about to go in for an interview, just picture them all naked? I can't do that. I can't do it.
that. I wouldn't go in.
I can't do it. But do you fantasize, ladies? Let's go to you and Claire. When you watch somebody on TV and you really fancy them, do you ever think, oh, I'd love to see you naked?
Oh.
It's like, have you watched that programme, Naked Attraction?
Oh, I can't watch that.
Exactly. When you've got 6 booths with like 6 people and then they raise it up and you just see the danglies or the bits. And then they go a bit further and you see the booblies and then...
I don't know. They go to work the next day.
I don't.
God.
No. No.
They're obviously very confident people and good on them. But yeah.
Yeah.
If you've ever been on the show, please step forward and come and be interviewed by us about how confident you were going on Naked Attraction, because you could delight all of us. But Mandy, if I gave you an opportunity, I wished you on a plane somewhere and I said, right, Mandy, today we're going down a naked beach, what would you say?
Off you trot. I'm going to
I put some very dark sunglasses on. Nobody could see that I was looking.
Would you embrace it though, Rach? Would you give it a try if you knew that you knew nobody on that beach and it was a naked beach and you wasn't with anybody, you were completely on your own, it was a single holiday, you were gone on your own, would you just think, I'm gonna go for it?
Oh God, no.
Because she'd expect you to jump out behind a rock with a camera.
Do you know what? I went to Paynton Zoo once, and I was looking.
Where's this going?
I looked at the tigers, and I looked over, and I saw the woman who served me on the deli at Asda. I thought, that'd be my luck. That'd be my luck. I'd meet somebody I knew. No.
Do you, ladies? Honestly, do you envy people that are confident within themselves?
A bit of both. There's some people who really love themselves, and I don't envy them. I think, oh God, no, because they're full of it. I think, oh yeah, and that. But then you've got other people who are just beautiful, and they don't really know that they're beautiful. So they're just like nice.
But Claire, I think you're beautiful. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah, you need glasses. Yeah, we all like the same people. It would be a very boring world, wouldn't it?
Maybe next week, ladies, we all need to come on naked.
I'm not on next week.
Oh my, I wasn't supposed to be on this week either.
It's not me. It'll be Rachel because she's on.
He wants dinner around at yours, Claire, this week. That's why he's saying things like that. You're beautiful.
No, going to Claire's house. I just keep going around panellists. That's what I keep doing. Having a bit of a go on you all. But let's go back to the jungle, but still light and fluffy. Chris Boyles in an emotional reunion with secret pal Boy George after the I'm a Celebrity exit. I'm a Celebrity, Get Out of Here star Chris Moyles reunites with his friend Boy George after recent conversation. I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here star Chris Moyles reunited with his pal Boy George after being voted out of the jungle. The radio star, the most recent celebrity to be kicked out of the Australian jungle, with Boy George leaving days before. But ladies, that got me thinking about friendship, really, because they talked about their friendship before they went into the jungle and how their friendship has grown since being in the jungle and come out. Do you think it's important to have lots of friends or a small group of people that you trust? small. Why do you think small, Claire? Tell me why.
Well, personally, I do. I mean, if you've got lots of friends, are they friends? You know, that you see, you talk to, and like I have got friends who, well, there's one who lives 4 doors down. I haven't seen her for ages, and one round the corner. But when we get together, yeah, but it doesn't. I personally don't think that a lot of friends, they can be your friends. You can't personally. I would just like my small number of friends, because they're the friends that will really know your nitty gritty. Friends about you are more acquaintances rather than friends. So yes, you might have loads of friends on Facebook, but they have no idea what you're going through personally. They just are your friends, you know. They might like a photo of you, and things like that. But I think just having that small amount who you know you can trust, or hope you can trust, and you know you can have a good time with, when you meet up and rekindle. But no, I think more so the
Yeah,
Facebook.
I utterly agree with you, because actually, when I know that doesn't happen often, does it? But I utterly agree with you, because actually, you'd never want to sound big-headed, do you? I know a lot of people. I know a hell of a lot of people. I can walk down the street and someone 9 times out of 10 will say, "Hi, Nick," and, "Oh, hi, nice to see you. All right." But actually, the people that know me inside out and can recognise when I'm having a bad day, or I'm struggling, or know the life of me inside out, I can count on one hand. I can literally count on one hand. And actually, I know it's that saying here, but circle of trust is really important to me. Really, really important to me. Like, centre of my circle of trust is my best friend that just knows everything about me. There's not one shadow of my life that he doesn't know about. But I would utterly trust him with all my life. There's nothing that I wouldn't tell him. And I wouldn't be the Nicholas James I am today without him. And I've got other people like that as well that just know me inside out and helped me and supported me. What do you think, Mandy? Do you think that a small group of friends is better than a large bunch of people?
Well, yeah, I think you have a core group, don't you? And then you have people that come and go. I mean, I've had friends that I've been friends with maybe for a year or two because the kids get on or whatever, and then they move off or through work, and you just don't speak to them anymore. But there's always that
No, Mandy, I
core.
don't allow you.
No, I can't get rid of you.
I can't allow you.
But yeah, I mean, there are friends that I've got that have come into my life, you know, later. Not from. I've got some good friends from school, and then I've got friends that have come in, like yourself, that have come into my life later, and they've stuck around. I just can't, peel them off. They won't go away. But yeah, it's usually just the small group, and other people come and go. And like Claire said, you've got acquaintances or people you might catch up with, and
What
yeah.
about you, Rach?
I don't know. It depends how many. It depends how much you change over you got school friends. I've had a friend from my best friend Michelle. She's from from when I started work before her children were born. And then we grew up together with children, and so she's one of these people that I might not see her every week, but I do see her a couple, 2 or 3 times a month. And then there's three friends that I have that we go out with. Then I've got my friends on here. We're more like acquaintances because we don't know each other really that well. Some of us we wish that we didn't know that well.
Show, see you next week. No, I don't see us as acquaintances, actually. I see us, if I'm completely honest, a bit of a family, a bit of a loose family.
Yes, but we don't know each other that well to
Oh,
kind of.
Rachel, stop
So-
dragging us down. Right, let's bring the
I'm
love
not
back in
dragging
the
us
room
down.
again.
I'm not dragging us down, Nick. You asked me my opinion. If you didn't want it, you should have just carried on talking. Now, shush.
Yeah, well,
No.
like I suppose like extended cousins, the cousins we don't see very often. If you want to describe it as a family,
Yeah, we
isn't
have
it?
we have a common interest. We have a
Yeah.
common interest, which is this
Yeah.
that brings us together. Work brings people together. So you have a work group, and then you have best friends that you grow up with your children. There's different pockets, different elements of your life where you tend to get friends through different interests, and so I've got quite a few friends. So and I'm all better for it. You know, it's when you're used and abused by a couple.
We have the loose link love.
Yeah, the loose link love. Yeah, Rachel, if you don't want to be part of it, just don't be part of it. No one cares.
You be without me, Nick. You be without me. There'll be an empty seat most
You
weeks.
don't let us know I'm a part of it.
Ladies and gentlemen, and all those in between, that brings us to the end of this week's Loose Links. Thank you for joining us on the panel as we put the world to rights at the beginning of the show, but we finish on a bit of laughter. Will you thank and really thank my panel this evening, the queen of stylish this week, that's Mandy Stannard. The woman with the Christmas tree that's always my fairy, that's Claire Brown in May.
Oh, here we
And the
go.
star that guides us all, that's Rachel Penny. Trying to did you hear that? Did you see that, ladies? Oh, here we go. Here we go.
It's going to be vicious.
But make sure you join us same time, same place next week. And we'll see you very, very soon. Take care. God bless. Loads of love, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.